Okay, I'm going to discuss this a little bit more. This video from now on will be sent with most orders, probably all of them, unless I reshoot it. Anyway, I was able to actually, this is one that I'm getting ready to send out, so I wanted to talk about it right now. And I may actually have to reshoot this video, so it might not be the one that goes out with it, because I'm not sure I want to take all this apart to show everybody everything. But when you get your tiny apiary, make sure that you look for everything, because what we had was, I had shipped, like basically packed the bottle inside, so inside here, and I put it in here, and some people said, oh, well, one person said that their lid broke. So that was it. After that, I told Barry we need to pack everything using cardboard. And so when you get your when you get your tiny apiary, and this has something extra in it, so don't pay attention to, but one of the things in this is a lid. And so, and I think, yeah, that's this one, is a lid. And it's taped in here, and I watch Barry do this with just about every order. I know he puts that in there, and the reason I know that is because we get those one at a time. If he didn't, it'd be sitting there on the ground. So if you take this out and somehow it came off there, I suppose it could have fallen in the box. Don't get rid of your packing materials until you are sure everything is in there. So there should be a bottle with a lid that has tiny holes in it, and then there should be a small piece of mesh fabric. That piece of mesh fabric is to fit inside a cap, or to wrap around a cap. Cut it and wrap it around a cap, and you want to use duct tape or something so those edges aren't sharp if you do it that way. And it's for if you use the bottle for feeding. A lot of people aren't doing that, but it catches it, so you put it like down in the bottom underneath the hole. Sorry, I got this upside down. So you put it on the bottom, and it catches honey as it drips from here down into the tiny apiary. And the reason why is because otherwise bees will drown down at the bottom. So I've talked in other videos about other ways to feed. I'll cover that a little bit. But another question I was asked, so I want to address it right now, because you may or may not be able to see it with all this packaging in here, but I'm kind of hoping you can, because I really don't want to take the packaging out. So see this little slant right here? This is actually something Deb Elder came up with. So the reason that that's there is because you can kind of see, hold on, let me grab a reverse tweezers to show you, even though I don't have bees in there, obviously. So if you try to get a bee out, it's a lot easier if just one fits out and can be, gotten through that corner. And so this allows you to open it to varying sizes depending upon your comfort. And that's a lot easier than, say, if you were to use this side, which actually has a hole that's the size of that crate, and it allows for varying amounts too, but one or two bees can get in there. And just so you know, they have with me when I was using just that system. And unfortunately, on one time, it actually took decapitated the bee. So that's why this is here. So, not a moment you want to see. It wasn't for me. So that's the purpose of that. This other side is for crate placement. You can just let your bees go in there. If they don't all go in, take it, just remove it really carefully, slowly, and then put the cork on it, and they'll be fine. They don't all have to go in, or just let them go in. They will eventually. And then this is a side door. I mean, a lot of people have asked what that's for, and it's just a slide door. It's an extra door in case you want to pop your crate in through the side. Some people don't want to mess with this front thing. That's why. Another option is to take that little piece of mesh if you're not going to feed from above anyway. Some people have been putting that mesh right here because they want extra ventilation. I don't do that, but that's a personal choice. So if somehow you didn't unpack, you unpacked and you somehow missed the lid or something like that, or tossed your packaging, what I'm going to recommend is that you go grab a spice container that fits into this hole, and take your lid and use a thumbtack, and from the inside, so the inside of the lid, make 4 small holes. Don't push it all the way through, just push it through so the tip goes through to the other side. That's how to keep those holes smaller. And if you want a bigger, you can put the whole thing through, or use a needle to widen it out. But I found that the better way to feed these bees, for me, if I can find it, The better way to feed these gals for me is by using one of these, if you can see it properly. But basically I got a piece of fish filter and I put it into a cap. You can even use a supplement cap. It doesn't need to be this. I got this from the Dollar Tree. It's like a set of 7 pill containers. And I cut that to size. Some people just put straight honey under that and then just push their finger on it. I use honey water. If you do that, make sure to check and use distilled water, but make sure to check every day or so and just wash it out. Make sure there's no mold in there. I also use sugar water. I'm aware that some people have had mold issues. Again, keep an eye on your food. So, and then I talked to people about how I'll even take a piece of toilet paper roll. I'm not going to do this again, but I'll just cut a little rectangle out of a toilet paper roll and then, you know, maybe some little notches on the side, like V notches on the side of that piece. So if you've got this rectangle like this, and this is a bigger example of it, but you know, let me just show you. So let's say I cut a piece of toilet paper roll to this size. I'll cut like a V here and a V here. And then I'll do what Amber said, which is take a small square of toilet paper, put honey in it, fold it over, and I stick it to that toilet paper roll and I set it inside there. They like to eat off that. And sometimes I'll even put a little water on it to re-wet it. And I've noticed a lot of success. Another option is leaving your crate inside there. During the time that they're getting oriented, that's not a bad idea. And I usually let them sit there for 4 hours to about 8 to 12 hours inside that apiary, unless I put them in the butterfly enclosure, and then it's more like 4 hours. So, let me see if there's anything else I wanted to cover. I said these all have closures. You know, like I said, I've even fed with, I am into different feeding methods in that jar during fall and winter. So I even use my finger and just put some on the top here in this whole area on the grate. A lot of people have switched to that. I saw, God, I'm wanting to say it was Elizabeth Avon said she gets Trader Joe's honey and dries it out a little bit, like some of it on, I think on cardboard or something. And then she takes that and puts it up here. I think that's what I saw. That's interesting. I might give that a try too. The only concern I have with that is if you're not letting them have the cleansing flights, honey solids honey has a lot of solids in it, and so there isn't as much water, and bees need water and food. So they may get dysentery if you do that. I'm trying to think if there's any other questions that I'd address. I'm almost considering just not including the mesh, mainly because it's led to too many questions. It makes me think people just don't use it. You know, I don't know. Maybe during summer they'd recognize it and they can just grab some mesh from the store, 1/8 inch mesh from Home Depot. You know, or try to find some hardware cloth or something. I'm considering some different things, and I wish that I had a set of instructions, but he's been trying to produce this, and I'm in school, and we've had a lot of stuff going on, and oftentimes, even when I do write stuff out and send it, I actually don't see a whole lot of people using that. So what I've decided is it's easier for people to see stuff when it's done on video, you know, or when it's spoken. Like, it just makes more sense to people. So generally that jar is at the top. If you ever have a problem with your spice jar, those are pretty typical spice jars. Just grab a spice jar with a plastic black lid or whatever color, doesn't matter what color it is, and put tack holes from the inside, about 4 of them. Don't go overboard with that tack. Just push it through until it reaches the other side. And then, like I said, look into some sort of small cap with sort of fish filter. It's an easier way to feed for me. You can also use the TP roll thing, which I found that works well. And then, again, this is just a side door. You could always use the mesh and cover that for extra ventilation if you wanted. And that mesh is for the cap and the bottom. Doesn't come with this. We can't send everything. It's just not practical. What happens is when you start adding a whole bunch of stuff into something like this, is the price just goes up and up and up. There's no way around it. And so I think some of these things, you know, when you get Ferris's Bee Buddy, for example, I hate to bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up. It comes with just the Bee Buddy. It's got a cap and a plastic container. That's it. It doesn't come with anything else. It doesn't have a side door. It doesn't have this. It doesn't have anything else to it. And I never got any instructions on that. And for what it's worth, I was kind of frustrated only because, about one part of it, just because I didn't know that the honey would go to the bottom, and I never had kept bees. It makes sense to me now. I mean, once I saw it happening, I would have done something, even if I hadn't been told in group. I would have figured out a way because I wouldn't have wanted them to drown. In fact, I think I did. I just was like, okay, well, you gotta put some sort of mesh in there over a cap. Like it. So, I mean, what I'm saying is I have a lot of educational videos that are on YouTube, and I think I called it the Bee Venom Therapy channel, but I can't remember. And those videos tell about feeding, and they tell about how to use a tiny apiary and all the features of the tiny apiary. So I think you got a lot of information to go off of, and you're just going to have to play around with it and learn. And I've told this to just about everybody. I can't say it enough. If you don't have one of those cheap butterfly enclosure things, or there's a hamper that's like 15 bucks. I think it's a Whitmore. It's on Amazon. It has a zipper that zips at the bottom, but at the top, but I'd flip that around and make that at the bottom. Get it because it helps them to take cleansing flights, and then you have live bees. And that's what I've had. I have a whole lot of bees where I was seeing a whole lot of death prior. So I hope this helps for people that are getting their tiny apiaries in the mail. Because inside here is your glass jar. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think that should be it. And then off to the side, you're going to see that piece of mesh underneath here, and then a lid. The only time you'd see something else is if you special ordered something like this, and I'd put it in there. But this one's for somebody that's out of the country, so it's important that whatever I do, that's why we worked that out. That I was going to send that because it's just this person's very, very, very ill, and I wanted to make sure that it was easier, and so I think I agreed with her that I had some extra, so I sent one to her, but I can't even remember, to be honest with you. And that's something I'm willing to do for people if they want to have a small payment that they make for the fish stuff. I don't think it'd be that much. It may add $1 or $1.50 to the whole order. But I need to hear feedback on it and whether or not people really want to do that. Minimally, I could probably throw in just a piece of this, and it wouldn't cost that much. I don't know, 75 cents or something, and then you can just find a lid or whatever. It's probably the easiest way, because the more lids that we pack in this, the more likelihood that there's going to be some sort of cracking, and at some point it just gets to be a problem. So anyway, oh yeah, well, I'll just mention one last thing. And so this on the back here, not everybody gets one like this. Some people get the one down from it, which is made of all wood, and it has like a piece of this on the back of it on the inside. So it's basically a piece that's inside here, and it's screwed to the back. It's removable though too. But this one slides through a groove, and it can be unscrewed here, and it slides through a groove. So for cleaning, it's easier. This might change a bit. I'm telling Barry, I think it might be better to leave this groove out and just screw this to the back so that there's less work with those grooves. Those grooves are actually really hard to get to line up. So as cool as it is, I might want it to be a little easier for him, and it won't make any difference in design anyway. It's a matter of one being screwed to the back and one being having a groove that slides through. So, and if you have trouble with this thing sliding, I ask you to kind of play around a little bit with it. I kind of was telling somebody yesterday that, let me move this just for a second, that if you're having trouble with side-to-side movement, although this shouldn't be an issue, and for what it's worth, I'm going to have to make sure, I mean, I've been doing this, but I'm going to doubly check every one of these, and unfortunately, once they go out, things will have to just work out because it's just too hard. You can send it back to us, but it'll incur shipping fees and stuff, and so I don't have an issue with that. If you're having a problem, you want it looked over, and that's perfectly fine, and it would just be shipping charges as well. But I think most stuff can be solved right on this. So let's say you had an issue, I'd have to actually almost make it happen, but where this was hitting here, and I'm gonna have to force it to happen. Well, I found if you just push this back, like push this away from you, it will slide. See, it'll slide a lot easier than if I were to I'll push it the other way so you can see. See, this one just doesn't have any issue. Most of these don't have any issue. They slide really well, so some of the earlier ones didn't. But if you are having an issue, just pushing this away from in that direction as you slide it, will help. Same thing with the other way if you're having a problem. Same sort of deal. Sorry, I've got this tape on here. I don't feel like taking it off because it is actually kind of difficult to wrap, but same thing, just push away from yourself and it'll help it slide through that groove. If you've got your tiny apiary in something, like a butterfly enclosure, I had kind of forgotten about this, but I had this issue. It made it harder for me to open and close my door. And I think it was just kind of a space issue, because once I got it out of there, I didn't have that problem. And for what it's worth, I don't even care. Once it's in there, I rarely open and shut the door. I don't see a need to. I mean, I can get bees out of there when they're going around in that butterfly enclosure. I just put honey on the top and they all cluster there. And then I go in with my stick, which I put honey on, it's a chopstick, and I put honey on the end of it. And they love that, so they go and eat it, and then I just pop them into a container. So I don't have an issue. I mean, even if this thing weren't sliding perfectly inside this butterfly enclosure, it has no effect on me. Because I don't really retrieve bees the same way as when I was a novice at this. So anyway, sorry for going on and on, but I know that there's going to be a stop in my ability to answer questions the way that I have. It's starting to tax me. I have Lyme disease myself and a number of co-infections and viruses, and actually I'm still recovering myself. So it's okay for me to answer questions. I tend to do so though in a video format for the most part, unless it's something really quick. And so I think this will go, or something like it will go with every order from now on. And hopefully a set of instructions or a website will have to, you know, kind of help people out there a little bit too, maybe if they want a printed set of instructions. But from what I've seen, most people do best with videos, including myself. Anyway, thank you guys. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.